The document slides across the desk without a sound. Keisha Johnson does not look at it. Not yet. She keeps her eyes on Park Min-ho's face. 12 years as a corporate attorney in Chicago taught her that the moment your body reacts before your mind does, you have already lost. So she stands completely still in the 43rd floor corner office of Park Global's Seoul headquarters. Her hands flat against her thighs, her wedding ring catches the light, her face giving away absolutely nothing. Park Min-ho sits on the other side of the desk. He is not looking at her. He is finishing his signature on a separate document, the scratch of his pen the only sound in the room. The city of Gangnam pulses 40 stories below them, millions of lights pressing up against the glass like something alive. He takes his time. That is the point. Making her wait is the message. When he finally looks up, his expression is almost pleasant. "I have been waiting for you to figure it out," he says. "I was starting to worry you never would." "You did not have to wait that long," she says. "I figured it out 3 hours ago." She places her own folder on the desk before he can say another word. He looks at it but does not pick it up. Instead, he tilts his head, studies her the way a chess player studies a piece he is about to remove from the board. Here is what you need to know before this story goes any further. The woman standing in that office is not a victim. She walked into that building by choice. She married into the Park family by choice. She built the plan that brought her to this exact room, in this exact city, standing across from the most dangerous man she has ever encountered. What she did not plan for was falling in love with his brother. And what she definitely did not plan for was the fact that Min-ho had been watching her do it the entire time. But before we get to what is in that folder, before we get to Seoul, the wedding, and everything that brought us here, we have to go back to Chicago. We have to go back to the night Keisha Johnson stopped being the woman she was raised to be. The night she decided being a good person was not going to be enough anymore. We have to go back to Daisy. If you are new here, welcome to Afro Soul Tales by Lex. Do me one favor before we go further. Hit that subscribe button, because I promise you, by the time this story is over, you are going to need someone to talk to about what happened. Turn on your notifications. Let us begin. Now, Chicago, Bronzeville, a Tuesday night in November. The apartment smells like cold air and something burned. Keisha pushes open the front door at 9:47 at night, and she knows immediately that something is wrong. The kitchen light is off. Daisy always leaves the kitchen light on. She finds her sister on the bathroom floor, still in her work clothes. Her design portfolio tablet face down on the tiles next to her, the screen pressed against the floor like she could not stand to look at it anymore. Daisy is not crying. That is what frightens Keisha most. She is just sitting there, back against the bathtub, staring at the wall. "Baby, what is wrong? Talk to me." Daisy's voice, when it comes, sounds like it is traveling from very far away. "He did it in front of everyone. Keisha." "Who?" "My boss. He talked about my work like it was nothing, not in a private meeting, not in an email. He stood at the front of the room and took my campaign apart piece by piece while 14 people sat there and watched." She pauses. And not one of them said a word. Not one. Keisha crouches down and takes both of her sister's hands. Daisy's fingers are cold in a way that has nothing to do with the temperature. 4 years, Daisy continued. I missed Mama's last Christmas because I was finishing a pitch deck for Park Global. I sat in that office on Christmas Eve and told myself it would be worth it. She looks at her hands. He called my work embarrassing. Then they walked me out with security like I was a threat. Keisha does not say anything for a long moment. She holds her sister's hands, and she lets the weight of those words sit exactly where they landed. Go take a shower, she says quietly. Are you serious right now? Will a shower give me back my job and reputation? I know it won't, but I don't want a shower. I don't want tea either, before you suggest it. I was not going to suggest tea. You always suggest tea. Daisy. Keisha squeezes her hands once. Go take a shower, okay? We will figure this out together. After the bathroom door closes and the water starts running, Keisha walks to the kitchen table, opens her laptop, and gets to work. She calls her colleague Marcus at 10:43 that night. He picks up on the second ring. I need everything you can find on Park Global Solutions, she says. Their CEO, a man named Park Min-ho, litigation history, settlement records, employee complaints. Anything that did not make it into public filing. This is about your sister, he says. It is about a pattern. I need to know if my sister is the pattern or the exception. He calls her back in 2 hours. What he tells her changes the shape of everything. 3 settlements in 5 years, all under NDA, all involving senior-level employees who left the company within weeks of filing and never worked at a comparable level again. He pauses. 2 of them are women. And Keisha. All 3 are black. Her hand on the phone goes very still. How did you pull that so fast? I have contacts at 2 of his retainer firms, Marcus says. Old favors. They owed me. Good. So, can we get to those women? She asks. They are under non-disclosure. I did not ask if they signed something. I asked if we could get to them. I will try. But Keisha, this man is locked up tight. 3 law firms on retainer. If you go at him directly, you will lose. I am not going at him directly, she says. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says, what about the Park family estate records? Their father died in 2018. I need to know how the inheritance was structured. There is a clause, he says, in the original family holding company, the one underneath Park Global. Both sons inherited equal shares. Min-ho built his entire empire on his half, but Seo-jun never transferred his portion over. He has been sitting on it for 6 years. What happens to that share if Seo-jun marries? A pause. It transfers into a joint marital asset, Marcus says slowly, which means his spouse holds co-claim rights. Keisha, or what are you thinking? I am thinking that Min-ho has spent 6 years trying to get his brother to sign over that share, she says, and I am thinking that a man who holds something Min-ho wants is a man Min-ho cannot ignore. You cannot be serious. If I can get close enough to Seo-jun, if I can get him to trust me, if I position myself as someone on his side against Min-ho, someone he would marry, then I become the co-claim holder. And a co-claim holder has legal standing to freeze, challenge, and restructure the entire original Park holding from the inside, not just Seo-jun's half, everything built on top of it, including Park Global. The silence on Marcus's end is long. That would take months, he says. Yes, she says. It would require him to actually marry you. Yes. Keisha, I know what I am asking myself to do. Marcus, her voice is flat, decided. Find me everything on the brother. She is already looking at the other name on her screen, Park Seo-jun. 3 weeks later, she is sitting across from him in a Korean restaurant in Albany Park. She has spent 2 weeks engineering a reason to be there. She has prepared for arrogance. She has prepared for coldness dressed up as composure. She has prepared for the specific charm of a man who has been told since childhood that rooms adjust themselves for him. She is not prepared for Seo-jun. He is already at the table when she arrives, talking to the restaurant owner in easy, flowing Korean, and the owner laughs at something he says. Not polite laughter, the real kind. The kind you give someone whose presence in your space actually makes you feel better. Seo-jun stands when he sees her and extends his hand. You must be Keisha. Professor Lim said you were working on something interesting. His English is perfect. His handshake is firm without trying to prove anything. Intellectual property in cross-continental design contracts, she says. It is a narrow area. Narrow areas are usually where the most important things are hiding, he says. She thinks. You have no idea. They sit. They order. She has a list of questions prepared, clinical and precise, designed to extract information while giving away nothing. She gets through the first two before he does something she does not expect. He asks her a question back. A real one. About what drew her to IP law, what she finds genuinely difficult about it. Not as small talk, as actual curiosity. And then he waits. Not the waiting that is really just patience for your turn. Real waiting. The kind that has space in it. She finds herself answering honestly. She adjusts internally and reminds herself why she is there. But walking back to her car afterwards, the reminder feels thinner than it did before she sat down. She calls Marcus from the parking lot. First meeting done, she says. And? She looks back through the restaurant window. Seo Jun is at the counter talking to the owner again. Easy, unhurried. He is not what I expected, she says. A pause on Marcus's end. Does that change anything? No, she says. She gets in the car. Keep building the file on the fellowship funding, she says. I want the full donor chain documented before our next meeting. And Marcus, if anyone from Park Global has been asking questions about me, I want to know immediately. You think Minho is already watching? I think a man who buried 3 lawsuits in 5 years does not leave his back door unlocked by accident, she says. Keep looking. She hangs up. She sits in the dark car for a moment. Then she pulls out her strategy document and opens it. She stares at it for a long time without typing anything. The next Saturday, she shows up in Albany Park again, this time without engineering a reason. Seo Jun is already outside the restaurant when she arrives, 2 coffees in hand, and he gives her one like it was always the plan. You came back, he says. I was in the neighborhood. You live in Bronzeville. I like the drive. Something quietly amused crosses his face and they start walking. He tells her about his project. About designing low-income community housing using open courtyard architecture from traditional Korean Hanok villages. Spaces that breathe, he says. Rooms that face each other across a central courtyard, so neighbors cannot avoid knowing each other. He has been studying Bronzeville because, he says, it has the bones of a place that understood that same principle once. That neighborhood was built by people who were not allowed to build anywhere else, she says. They made something out of what they were given. Yes, he says. That is exactly what I mean. She looks at him. He is looking at the street, at the storefronts and the flat Chicago sky, and his expression is the one she is beginning to recognize as his real one, genuine attention. The kind of person who actually looks at things. There is a concept in Korean, he says, almost like he is thinking out loud. Nunchi, reading what is in a room without being told, sensing what someone needs before they say it. He glances at her. My mother said it was the most important skill a person could have. My mother called it something else, Keisha says. Oju ani, seeing with more than your eyes. He stops walking, turns to look at her fully. Where is she from? Lagos. She came to Chicago in 1998. A beat. She passed 4 years ago. I am sorry, he says. And the way he says it, she understands he means it without qualification. She looks away down the street. She would have liked this neighborhood, she says. She always liked places that had survived something. They walk for another hour. That evening, she does not open her strategy document, but she does open her calendar. The plan needs proximity to work. It needs trust. And trust, Keisha knows, is not given. It is accumulated, slowly, in small moments that seem like nothing until they are everything. So she engineers the moments, a text the following Tuesday. Something she saw in Bronzeville that reminded her of what he said about courtyards. He replies within minutes. They end up on the phone for an hour. The week after that, She suggests the farmer's market on Division. He is already there when she arrives, which she pretends not to read into. Weeks pass like this. Easy walks, long conversations that start about architecture and end somewhere else entirely. 6 months later, she is standing beside Seo-jun in the Korean Consulate General of Chicago, wearing a deep green dress. 4 people in the room, including the officiant. When the officiant asks Seo-jun if he takes Keisha as his wife, he answers without glancing at her for reassurance. He does not perform for the room, he means every word. And she knows the difference between meaning something and performing it, because she has been performing for months. His face looks nothing like hers. Outside on the steps afterwards, Seo-jun's witness Ji-eun takes Keisha's hand. He is a good man, Ji-eun says, her smile completely still. He deserves someone who chose him first. Then she releases Keisha's hand and walks back to Seo-jun. The sentence stays on Keisha's skin like cold air. She chose him second. They both know it. And Ji-eun knows it too. They fly to Seoul 3 days later. Bukchon Hanok village in the early morning is so quiet that it feels like an agreement between the city and the hour. Curved tile rooftops rise dark against a sky going pale gold, the stone alleyways empty and cool. Seo-jun walks beside Keisha and talks about Hanok architecture the way some people talk about music. The house breathes with its environment, he says. It does not resist it. The rooms open to courtyards. The floors are heated from underneath, so the warmth comes from the ground up. The building is designed around the people inside, not the impression it makes from outside. That is the opposite of your brother's buildings, Keisha says, before she can stop herself. Seo-jun goes quiet for half a step. Yes, he says. It is. I am sorry. I should not have. No, you are right. He looks at a doorway in the stone wall. Old wood and faded red lacquer. Minho builds things that tell people how important he is. I am more interested in buildings that make people feel like they matter. She wants to ask about 2019. She wants to ask about the estate, the last photograph, and the 6 years of silence. She does not ask any of it. Why did you really leave the company? She says. He does not answer immediately. When he does, his voice is quiet. Because some things cost more than they are worth. And some people teach you that lesson by taking everything first. She looks at the side of his face. He is still looking at the rooftops. She realizes she has not thought about Park Min-ho in 3 days. She reaches for her phone to check the time. But coincidentally, his name is already on the screen. She reads the message once, then reads it again. The city goes very still. Or maybe that is her. 2 photographs. A document. 1 line of text. She knows, without needing to verify, that she did not give Minho her number. She knows, looking at the first photograph of herself standing outside Park Tower in Chicago in the November rain, time-stamped the night she started her research, that he has had this photograph for months. And she knows, looking at the attached document, which is a legal filing targeting Seo-jun's fellowship with a press release ready to go, that the version of this story she has been living is not the version that was actually happening. She looks at Seo-jun, 4 steps ahead of her, studying the angle of a rooftop overhang with his architect's attention. Completely unaware. Come to my office tomorrow morning, Minho's message says. Come alone. She puts her phone in her pocket. Seo-jun. He turns. One look at her face and his expression shifts completely. What happened? Nothing. I think I need to go back to the hotel tomorrow. I have some work to finish. He looks at her for a moment with the eyes of a man who reads a room without being told. Then he nods and says nothing. It is 2 a.m, Seoul time, when she calls Marcus. He knew, she says the moment he picks up. What? Who? Minho knew from the beginning. He has a photograph of me outside Park Tower from the night I started the research. He was watching me the entire time. Oh my God. He set you up, Marcus says. He positioned a Seo Jun in Chicago, where someone angry and capable would find him. He left the family fracture visible in the public record, where anyone doing due diligence would see it. He did not discover my plan, Marcus. He designed the conditions for my plan to happen. Why? Marcus asks. He knew about the estate clause, she says. From the beginning. He knew that was what I was after. The silence on Marcus's end is long. He let you proceed, Marcus says slowly. Because your marriage to Seo Jun served his purposes too. We were both playing the same game, she says. I thought I was using the estate clause as a weapon against him. He was using my knowledge of the estate clause to get me into position. The co-claim I was building to freeze his assets, he was planning to flip it. Get me to cooperate in one legal proceeding instead, and Seo Jun's half transfers to him cleanly, through me, the wife he watched walk into his trap. He did not need to find someone willing to do this, Marcus says. He just needed to find someone angry enough and capable enough to figure it out on their own. And then make sure the conditions were right for her to find his brother. He auditioned me, she says. Without me knowing. Minho does not need me to destroy Seo Jun. He needs my signature. He needs me in that marriage long enough to cooperate in one legal proceeding, and Seo Jun's half of the company becomes accessible. He used your own plan against you. He invited my plan. There is a difference. She closes one document and opens another. I need to know who funded the Northwestern Fellowship. A long pause. Then Marcus says, there is a Park Global philanthropic contribution to Northwestern's architecture department in the program's founding year. He chose the fellowship location. He chose Chicago because it was Daisy's city. He knew someone who cared about Daisy would be looking for an opening. He just needed that person to be capable enough to actually get close. There is a pause on Marcus's end that is half a second longer than it should be. So what do you do now? Marcus says. She is already dialing a second number. I need the full text of the bilateral educational exchange agreement between the U.S. and South Korea, the Fellowship Protection Clause. What do you need that for? I am building a file, she says. Go. Soon, she is on the phone with a woman named Sean at midnight Chicago time, and Sean answers on the second ring. My name is Keisha Johnson. I am a corporate attorney. I married into the Park family 3 months ago, and I think you and I have something very important in common. A long pause. How did you get this number? I am very good at my job. I know you signed a non-disclosure agreement, and I'm not asking you to violate it. I am asking you to help me build a pattern that makes the NDA irrelevant. When Sean speaks again, her voice is different. Lower. Like something held in for a long time, finally finding a door. I have every email, she says. Every meeting note, 18 months of documentation. Send it all to this address tonight, encrypted. What are you going to do with it? I am going to make sure Park Minho never does this to anyone again, and I am going to need you to be willing to have your name on something, not now, but eventually. A long silence. I have been waiting 1.5 years for someone to call me, Sean says. Send me the address. By 4 a.m, Keisha has built something that would make her most demanding senior partner proud. A timed whistleblower filing addressed to the Illinois Department of Human Rights, with a parallel submission to journalists in Seoul and Chicago. Both journalists have confirmed receipt and are already asking questions. The filing releases in 4 hours unless she cancels it. She sets it. Then she sits at the window and looks at Seoul, enormous and lit and completely indifferent. She looks at the connecting door between her room and Seo Jun's. It opens before she reaches it. Seo Jun is standing there, still fully dressed. He does not look surprised. He looks like a man who has been waiting in a room for a particular sound for a very long time. I was going to tell you, she says. I know. he says. I need you to let me explain from the beginning, please. Keisha. His voice is quiet, completely level. I know. The word lands differently the second time. What do you mean you know? Ji-eun recognized your name after our third meeting, a consultation request at Northwestern's law department, 2 months before you contacted Professor Lim. Specific enough to narrow down. She told me that same night. The silence between them is not empty. It is full of everything that happened after that third meeting. Everything that was real and everything that was not. And the fact that those two things became impossible to separate. You knew from the third meeting? She says. Yes. And you continued. Yes. Why? The word comes out smaller than she means it to. Seo-jun, why would you? Because I know the difference between someone using a person and someone trying to survive, he says. I have been watching my brother use people for 6 years. I know exactly what it looks like. He pauses. And I know what it looks like when someone forgets to keep pretending. You forgot somewhere around the 4th Saturday. Maybe before. I had a strategy document, she says. Her voice does something she did not give it permission to do. I logged every meeting, every conversation. I had a plan, and you should be... What? He says. Angry? Yes. I am not angry. You should be. Keisha. He moves closer. Tell me about Daisy. She is quiet for a long moment. Then they sit down, and she tells him everything. From the bathroom floor to the laptop, to Marcus, to the restaurant in Albany Park and everything after. She tells him about the estate clause and what Minho has been doing. She tells him all of it. And he listens the way he always listens. Real waiting. Real space. When she finishes, the room is quiet. My brother orchestrated this, Seo-jun says. Not a question. Yes. He set the conditions for you to find me and marry me because he wants the co-claim. Yes. And tomorrow he is going to ask me to cooperate. She looks at him. I am not going to sign anything. You do not have to go alone. I have to go alone. If you walk in there, he turns it into the two of you, and he controls everything. He has 6 years of practice managing your dynamic. He has about 12 hours of practice managing mine. She pauses. Let me go in as his brother's wife. Let him think he still controls what that means. Seo-jun takes her face in both hands. He looks at her for a moment, like he is memorizing something he wants to keep. For what it is worth, he says quietly, whatever the beginning was, the rest of it was real. For me. For me too, she says. That is what made it complicated. He kisses her. The kiss lasted for 10 minutes. They are breathing hard when they break apart. Go, he says. I will be here. She picks up her folder and she walks out. Now, here is something I want to ask you before we get to the office scene. If someone came to you with a hidden agenda, but somewhere in the middle of it, they forgot to keep pretending, and what you saw underneath was completely real, would you call what happened between you real? Or would you always see the beginning first? Tell me in the comments because your answer changes everything about how you see what comes next. 9 o'clock in the morning. The city is sharp and gold below the windows. Minho is at his desk, signing documents, when Keisha enters. He does not look up immediately. He makes her wait. There is a photograph on his desk, not of family, but of a building. The original Park family property. Keisha recognizes it from the estate records. When he finally looks up, his expression is pleasant. I have been waiting for you to figure it out, he says. I was starting to worry you never would. You did not have to wait that long, she says. I figured it out 3 hours ago. She places her document folder on his before he can say another word. He does not touch it. He leans back slightly instead. Marcus Webb has been a valued contact for months now, he says. Not cruelly. Conversationally. The The way you mention something you assumed the other person already knew, the room goes very quiet. Keisha does not move, and her face gives away nothing, but her hand, flat against her thigh, presses a little harder into the fabric. "He told you," she says. "He told me enough. The rest I already knew." Minho tilts his head slightly. "He is not a bad man, your colleague. He was in a difficult position. I made it more comfortable for him. That is all." "Then you know what is in this folder," she says. "I know what was in your plan 4 months ago," he says. "I am more curious about what you built last night." She holds his gaze for exactly 3 seconds. "Then let me show you," she says. "That is a whistleblower filing. It covers the 2019 estate dispute. The structural relationship between your fellowship donor program and CO June's placement in Chicago. 3 sealed settlements and a 15-month pattern of discriminatory employment actions targeting Black women in senior creative roles at Park Global. It has been encrypted and timed. It releases in 4 hours to 2 journalists, one in Seoul, one in Chicago. Both have already confirmed receipt." Minho looks at the document but does not pick it up. He looks at it the way you look at something that has just changed the room. "You really have nerves. I give that to you." "I'll take that as a compliment," she responds. "So you would destroy this company," he says. "You would destroy Seo Jun's reputation along with it. The association alone." "Seo Jun's name is not in that filing." A pause. "The fellowship placement section. Names only you," she says, cutting him off. "I have been an attorney for 12 years, Minho. I know the difference between a man who was used and a man who did the using." He picks up his pen, puts it down, looks at the window, at the city, then back at her. And here is what Keisha sees, something she will think about for a long time afterward. He is not surprised. He is not even particularly angry. He is recalibrating. The way a man recalibrates who has played a very long game and arrived at a position he finds, almost professionally, interesting. "You cannot cancel the release," he says. "Not if it has already been received. I can send a retraction request within the 4-hour window. If you give me something to retract toward." Which is: Daisy Johnson is reinstated, full back pay, a public acknowledgement from Park Global that her termination was procedurally improper. All 3 prior complainants receive written acknowledgement and compensation through independent mediation. You release any claim on the joint holding through Seo Jun's marital assets. In writing. Before I leave this building. Minho is quiet for a long time. Seoul moves below them, vast and indifferent. "And if I say no?" he says. "Then I take the elevator down. And in 4 hours you explain to your Seoul expansion partners why a Chicago journalist has a 15-month timeline of your conduct toward Black female employees, and a Korean journalist has your father's estate documents." She picks up his document from the desk and puts it in her bag. Then she holds her own filing. "I came here to destroy your family," she says. "I want you to understand that. I planned every step. I used your brother as a way in. And somewhere between Albany Park and Bukshan, I stopped being able to do it. Not because the plan stopped working, because I stopped being the person who made it." She walks to the door. "You have 90 minutes, she says. "The building downstairs has a very good coffee shop. I will be there." She does not look back. She is on her second cup when her phone lights up. Her phone shows 2 unread messages from Marcus. The first one asks how the meeting went. The second one says he has been trying to reach her and to please call when she can. She reads them both. She turns the phone face down on the table. She does not reply. A moment later, it lights up again. It is not Marcus this time. It is Daisy. Keisha stares at the name for 2 full seconds. Then she picks up. "Hey," she says. "Keisha." A strange pause, filled with something that is not quite silence. "I just got an email from Park Global's legal team. They are requesting a call with me about my case. They called it a mutual resolution conversation. Another pause. Did you do something? Keisha looks out the coffee shop window at the Seoul Street. I filed some paperwork, she says. What kind of paperwork? The kind that was overdue. Daisy is quiet. Then, in a different voice, the voice Keisha has not heard since before the bathroom floor, she says, You were supposed to tell me. You were supposed to… She stops. A breath. When she speaks again, it is softer. I made jollof rice today, she says. For the first time in a long time. I do not know why I'm telling you that. Keisha's throat tightens. How did it turn out? She asks. Good, Daisy says. Really good, actually. Auntie Vera would say it is not right, but she would eat 3 plates. Keisha laughs, and the laugh that comes out is the first completely unguarded sound she has made in about 8 months. I will be home next week, she says. Bring Seo Jun, Daisy says simply. Do not argue. I have questions for him. Minho's email arrives at the 2-hour and 40-minute mark. 3 attachments. The first is a signed release of marital asset claim on the original Park family holding. The second is a drafted reinstatement offer for Daisy, with back pay calculated to the date of termination. The third document Keisha does not recognize at first. She reads it once, then again, then a third time, slowly. It is a voluntary disclosure to the Korean Fair Trade Commission of certain internal practices at Park Global. Signed by Minho himself. Dated today. She reads it again. He did not have to include the third document. The first 2 covered the agreement. The third one is something else. The third one is a man in his own hand, writing down something he did wrong. She does not know what to do with that. She sends the retraction request to both journalists. Then she texts Seo Jun. Come to the coffee shop on the ground floor. Bring nothing. We are going to eat something. He arrives 12 minutes later, wearing the gray jacket he has worn every cold morning in Seoul, hands in his pockets. He scans the room the way people scan rooms when they are looking for one specific thing and not interested in anything else. He finds her. He crosses the room and sits down. How did it go? He asks. It went, she says. That is not an answer. No, she agrees. It is not. The waiter brings barley tea and a plate of hoteok. Seo Jun ordered without looking at the menu. He looks at Keisha. Are you going to tell me everything? He says. Yes, but not right now. When? When I have finished the part where I do not know how to say I am sorry for the version of this I intended to be. He is quiet for a moment. I know what you intended, he says. I also know what you actually did. Those are 2 different stories, and I am only interested in the second one. The barley tea arrives. Keisha wraps both hands around the cup. Outside, Seoul moves past the window, full of people who have no idea how much the last 12 hours cost and how much they gave back. Your brother sent a third document, she says. The voluntary disclosure. Seo Jun's expression shifts. Something she cannot name. Why would he do that? She asks. He picks up his cup, looks at the surface of the tea. Because my brother, despite everything, is still his father's son, and our father always said the only thing worse than making a mistake is being the only one who knows you made it. Keisha sits with that for a long time. I rename the document, she says finally. He looks at her. The strategy document, on my laptop. I renamed it. What did you rename it? And she looks at him across the table in this coffee shop in Seoul. This man she met with a plan and stayed with in spite of it. This man who knew what she was doing and chose her anyway. And she says, I will show you when we get home. His face does something quiet and complete. He understood what that meant without her saying much. Outside, school children pass the window in matching yellow hats. A woman selling flowers on the corner wraps a bouquet in brown paper. The city is unbothered and beautiful and indifferent, the way all the best cities are. And inside the coffee shop, two people sit with cups of warm tea and the specific, fragile, enormous thing that happens when a plan falls apart and something true grows in the space it left behind. 6 months after Keisha walks out of Park Min-ho's office, the Seoul expansion is on hold. Two anchor clients have quietly moved their contracts elsewhere. The whistleblower filing, even with the retraction, left enough of a trail that serious people are asking questions he used to be able to make disappear with a phone call. He can still make the calls. People just take longer to call back now. He does not fire anyone over it. He does not rage. He is not that kind of man. He simply becomes smaller. Not dramatically. Not all at once. The way a room gets smaller when the most important person in it leaves, and nobody quite fills the space again. He never calls Seo-jun. The door is not locked from Seo-jun's side. Everyone who knows both brothers understands that. But Min-ho does not call. Because calling would require him to become someone he does not yet know how to be. That version, he buried somewhere around 2019. And unlike everything else Park Min-ho has ever wanted, he cannot buy his way back to it. And that, in the end, is his real punishment. Before I end the story, I need to say something. I wrote this story because I have been thinking for a long time about what we do when someone we love gets hurt. We want justice. We plan. We get precise. And sometimes, in all that precision, we become something we never meant to become. We end up somewhere we never meant to go. And I wanted to ask, what if the place you never meant to go turned out to be exactly where you needed to be? Keisha went to Chicago with a strategy. She ended up in Seoul with a folder, a marriage, and love she did not plan for. Seo-jun knew the truth from the beginning and stayed anyway. Daisy got her letter, and Min-ho sat alone in his office and wrote something down in his own hand. Sometimes revenge gets you justice. Sometimes it gets you nothing. And sometimes, if you are lucky, it gets you something better than what you thought you wanted in the first place. But I have one final question for you. When Seo-jun walked into that courthouse, he already knew the whole truth about Keisha's plan. He knew exactly why she was there. And he still said yes. He still signed his name. He still married her anyway. Was that love? Or was that his own kind of strategy? Drop your opinion in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe to Afro Soul Tales by Lex if you haven't. Share this with someone who needs to hear this story. Thank you for watching.